Well, hello there, YouTube. Do us a favor, like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tap that little bell so you get notified every time we go live. We're recapping the weekend's action up next. All right, very eventful weekend in baseball. Let's break it all down. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Monday, July 11th. Frank Stampfl joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today on the show, Nolan Jones got the call. Bunch of waiver wire options, buy or sell, start or sit. We'll get into all of it. But first, Chris, I am so jealous that you got to see the one and only Sandy in person Sunday. How was it?
Yeah, I went to the Marlins-Mets game. Marlins got the series split, which is, that's the under 500 teams version of a moral victory. And Sandy was, he wasn't even like as sharp as normal today, but he still managed to go through 7 innings and 93 pitches, lowered his ERA to 173. This run he's on is just fantastic. I was thinking, in the pantheon of Marlins pitchers, we're coming up on 96 Kevin Brown and Jose Fernandez, his one full season, I think 2016, and maybe one Josh Johnson stretch. That's where Sandy Alcantara is right now. It's been really, really fun to watch, and I think I have him as a top 5, if not either 5 or 6 pitcher in both formats now.
So this is for Sandy Alcantara, 12 straight starts with 7+ innings. He has a 1.24 ERA and a 0.73 WHIP in that 12 start stretch.
I know there are other pitchers having good seasons, and Tony Gonsolin is the hometown guy, and Clayton Kershaw's having a really good season, and that would be fun for the Dodgers hosting the All-Star game. But there's no question Sandy Alcantara has been the best pitcher in the National League this season. He's thrown 20 more innings than anyone else. It's wild.
Yep. He leads baseball with 130.1 innings pitched. The next closest, Aaron Nola, 111 and a third innings pitched, and top 10 in strikeouts this season for Sandy Alcantara as well. Happy you were able to see it, Chris. By the way, Josh Johnson, low key, I always loved that guy. I thought that he was going to be amazing, and I got suckered in. Anytime he did anything, I got suckered in. So
shouts to the dude at the Mets Marlins game today rocking a Josh Johnson jersey.
Oof.
That is the real hero.
That is awesome. All right, let's get into the rest of the weekend's action.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Oh, my goodness gracious. There was a prospect promotion this weekend, Scotty, and he did something pretty awesome in his first game. What did he do?
Well, it was more in his second game. The prospect is Nolan Jones, and the awesome feat was he hit a 457-foot home run into the fountains at Kauffman Stadium. And it was kind of disarming how far it went, because off the bat, I was like, oh, it didn't look like it was going to be this monster home run. I guess it was just hit on, just at the right launch angle to make it deceptive looking off the bat. But it went a long way. It was an impressive poke there for Nolan Jones. And he had an impressive weekend overall, went 5 for 10, walked 3 times, started all 3 games. I think there would be a lot more excitement for him in fantasy if this was happening in July of 2021. He had been kind of a consensus top 100 prospect 3 years in a row prior to this year. Kind of fell off the map because he had a bad year that ended in ankle surgery last year. It was his first shot at AAA. And I got a sense from a lot of the prospect write-ups for Nolan Jones, even entering into last year, that people were kind of losing faith in him. His strikeout rate remained high in a way, he walks a lot. And I think people were expecting the strikeouts to improve. The power, he has a good raw power profile, but puts the ball on the ground a lot and continued to, even into the upper minors. So I think there's still a lot of skepticism for Nolan Jones. We have yet to see if he's going to keep playing against left-handed pitchers. He's a left-handed batter. So I think that's a real question. But I think the most attractive thing about him is, even though he's playing outfield now, he remains eligible at third base in CBS sports leagues anyway. And that's a miserable position. That's a position where a lot of people need help. So I would say anywhere you need help at that position, it's worth taking a flyer on Nolan Jones. I didn't put in a bid for him, I don't think, in any of my 12-team leagues. I did in a few of the 15-teamers. None of them I really needed a third baseman, so my bids were modest. But, you know, if I did need a third baseman, that might have changed the equation a bit.
Mm-hmm. And especially if you need a third baseman this upcoming week, because the Guardians have 8 games, and I know that they're top 5 in terms of hitter matchups for you, Scott. So 17% rostered is Nolan Jones. He's widely available, will gain outfield eligibility as well. Do you think he is a must-add, Scott, or just, you know, if you need the help for now, if you need a corner or something like that, or are you just looking to take that shot no matter what?
I wouldn't say no matter what. No, I like I said, there were some. I don't think I put in a bid for him in any of my 12-team leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, I don't know that there was anybody I was dying to drop in any of those leagues. It might have been different if there was. You know, it's never a bad idea to take a chance on upside. But I have some real doubts about Jones and his ability to be a useful everyday player in the majors, but there is talent there. If you want to take a shot on it, go ahead.
All right, fair enough. You mentioned he was added in a bunch of leagues already for Fab. He went for an average of 7% of remaining Fab budget in the leagues that I play in. Chris, does that sound right? If you want to take a shot on Nolan Jones, maybe 5 to 7%, something like that, or is that too high?
Yeah, that seems reasonable to me. You know, I think your best case scenario is probably like maybe this is a little too optimistic, but like Max Muncy, like that's the kind of profile I think. You know, very patient hitter. Nolan Jones swung. I just read Nolan Jones swung at fewer than 40% of all pitches he saw last year in AAA. This year so far, I mean, it's limited sample size, but it's been like 35%. So, yeah, I think there's a chance that he's a solid source of power who, you know, probably hurts you in batting average. So, you know, a poor man's Max Muncy, maybe.
All right, let's stick with you here, Chris. Oh my goodness gracious, standout from the weekend for you.
Reid Detmers, who got sent down to the minors on June 21st, made one start in the minors and was so good that they called him back up. He had 14 strikeouts in that minor league start, and it wasn't quite that good Friday against the Orioles, but still a pretty impressive start for a guy who hasn't shown all that much outside of the no-hitter. You know, that's a pretty good one, I guess, but 7 strikeouts over 6 shutout innings, 2 hits, 1 walk for Reid Detmers in this one. And the headline coming out of the start is that he threw his slider as his most used pitch 40% of the time. And it was a harder slider than he had thrown before. His average velocity with it was up to 86.4 miles per hour. That was 3 miles per hour up from where his slider's been this season. And I think it's interesting. You know, I don't know if it's enough to make Reid Detmers a superstar, but the scouting report on him coming up as a prospect was, you know, he was a college guy who got drafted and moved very quickly through the minors, and it was always like pitchability. The curveball is this, you know, really good pitch for him, but wasn't necessarily clear if the rest of the arsenal was going to get there. And, you know, the slider, 4 swings and misses on 36 pitches, that's not incredible, but the fact that it was more effective, the fact that he was more effective overall, and the fact that Reid Detmers is a young pitcher with some pedigree makes it at least worth a look on waivers. I'm not going to say that you should go all out for him, but his fastball's been so bad in the majors that anything that lessens the impact of that is going to be a good thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, that is Reid Detmers, widely available as well, 26% rostered. Even if you add him this week, which I think speculatively makes sense. Prospect status there, and obviously change in pitch mix. He's going up against the Dodgers this week, so I don't think you want to use him in that matchup. But just if you want to take a shot and see where it goes from here, I think it's a good idea, Scott.
Yeah, I mean he not only did he I just don't want to understate the amount of that increase on the slider. He had been throwing it like 15% of the time previously and basically felt like he didn't have it. He considered it his put away pitch and he just didn't have it earlier in the year, managed to throw a no-hitter in spite of it. But if you're missing your best pitch, like you can understand, like this just kind of puts the rest of his season into sheds a new light on it, I guess. Mm-hmm. Because he went down and he said he found a mechanical issue that was keeping the slider from working for him. So hopefully this is a fix for Reid Detmers, and I agree. I think anywhere you need a pitcher, you wouldn't want to start him next week, as you said, but there's definite promise here for Reid Detmers.
Where does he rank among these waiver wire pitchers? Was going to save this for a little bit later on, but hey, we're talking about Detmers. The other ones that stood out to me, Alex Wood had a fantastic start on Sunday, 7 shutout innings, 8 strikeouts up against the San Diego Padres. Aaron Savali had a great start, 7 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts at the Royals. Johnny Cueto turns back the clocks against the Tigers, 8 shutout innings there, 5 hits, 0 walks, 5 strikeouts. Chris, do you think Detmers ranks at the top of that group? Wood, Detmers, Savali, Cueto.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think him and Wood are probably pretty close, but with Wood being somewhat underwhelming this season, I think I would take Detmers over him. Yeah.
I was gonna say Wood's the only one I would take ahead of Detmers. Obviously had a good start this weekend himself, one of his best starts of the season, and he has. Let me see. I just wrote it down. No, I was going to say that Wood has a 320 xFIP on the year, which certainly paints a much rosier picture than the 4.43 ERA. But also the FIP and the xERA, basically all the ERA estimators suggest Wood has deserved much better than he's gotten. And hopefully this starts Sunday, where he struck out 8 and 7 shutout innings, needed only 83 pitches to do so too. Hopefully that's Alex Wood getting back on track.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Scott, did you say definitively?
I would go Wood over Detmers, but those two are in a different category from the other two. I really have no interest in Johnny Cueto or Aaron Savali. By the way, Johnny Cueto has an xFIP over 4.
Yeah,
even though he has a 2.91 ERA.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of Alex Wood right now. I will say, if you play in a quality start league, Johnny Cueto has a quality start in 8 of 10 starts this season. So if nothing else, he is giving you length and, decent length at that. Oh my goodness gracious, for me, got to stick with the homer, right? Why not? Matt Carpenter, 7 hits this weekend, including 2 home runs, and he has started 6 straight games for the Yankees. They are finding ways to get his bat in the lineup. He's playing a little bit of first base. They throw him in the outfield. He's playing DH. Joey Gallo has really lost out on playing time, and I think rightfully so based on what he's done this season. But I'm kind of interested in this. He's 11% rostered. He's widely available. I added him in a few of my deeper leagues already. He's got second base eligibility for now. He's hitting the ball hard. He's putting the ball in the air. He's pulling the ball a ton, which all makes sense for Yankee Stadium as a left-handed batter. So I don't really want to overstate it, because like a week from now, he might not even be playing or anything with the Yankees, but I'm kind of interested in this. Scott, what do you think about Matt Carpenter, and are you looking to add him anywhere?
Well, I hadn't noticed that he'd started playing again. They had taken him out of the lineup after he had a good stretch filling in for Giancarlo Stanton early in the year, and I kind of thought that was that, But yeah, the numbers look fantastic, and he always seemed like a guy who the underlying numbers suggested his decline wasn't as steep as the overlaying numbers, I guess, made it appear. I do remember this offseason reading about how he spent a lot of time with Joey Votto this offseason to try and
I'm actually looking at that piece right now.
Yeah, to try and recap, to try and tap into the same thing Joey Votto did to up his power late in his career. And maybe it's happening for Carpenter too. Maybe pulling the ball more is part of it.
Mm-hmm. Chris, are you looking to add Carpenter in anything shallower than like a 15-team league for now, or just kind of take a wait and see approach?
Yeah, I would say probably 15-team or deeper is where I'm looking. I guess I could see a 12-team league where I could have a need, but for the most part, yeah, I'm still not quite convinced of the playing time. But I'm happy to see it, and the skill set does look like there's at least, like, it doesn't seem like it's entirely smoke and mirrors, I guess is the way I would want to say it.
Yeah, again, hitting the ball hard, putting it in the air and pulling it. I mean, that is a recipe for success, especially in Yankee Stadium. So take a shot in deeper leagues, and let's see if this continues to go for Matt Carpenter. We spoke about a few waiver wire pitchers. Let's get into a few others here. Waiver wire pitchers part 2. Keegan Thompson had a strong start at the Dodgers this weekend, 5 2/3 innings of 1-run ball, 8 strikeouts in that start. A nice little pitcher's duel on Saturday between Kyle Gibson and Dakota Hudson. Gibson went 7 shutout with 5 strikeouts, and Dakota Hudson went 6 shutout on the other side with 4 strikeouts in that game. And then Jake Odorizzi, bold prediction by Chris to end Friday's podcast, was that Odorizzi would have a great start on Sunday. It's exactly what he did. 7 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts, 14 swinging strikes at the Oakland A's. Obviously a great matchup, but he's also facing the Oakland A's again this week. Chris, do you have any interest in Odorizzi, Kyle Gibson, Dakota Hudson, Keegan Thompson?
Yeah, I think Odorizzi's a fine streamer. I don't know who he's facing after Oakland, or I guess that's probably his last start before the All-Star break. So I don't know who he's facing coming back out of the All-Star break, but yeah, I think he's going to be useful against Oakland. Sure. I don't think he's going to be this good, but I think he's an average pitcher or so, and average pitchers can look really good against Oakland. So totally fine using him there. That being said, I think I'd probably, if I was looking longer term, I'd probably just rather have Keegan Thompson, who I don't think is a superstar by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he's done some good things. He's doing a good job of controlling quality of contact, 70th percentile or thereabouts in most of the quality of contact metrics. Obviously, small sample size caveats abound, but yeah, I think there's something somewhat interesting about Keegan Thompson and his, kitchen sink approach to throwing pitches.
Scott, you looking to add any of these names? Thompson, Kyle Gibson, Dakota Hudson, Odorizzi?
I mean, Thompson is probably my favorite, but that's not saying a lot. I think when he first started out, his ground ball rate was a lot higher than it is now. It's he's not exactly profiling as a ground ball pitcher right now, in which case, I'm just not sure he does anything well enough to be more than a streamable type in fantasy. I am kind of disappointed Jake Odorizzi was so good on Sunday, because the Astros aren't going to keep a 6-man rotation rest of season, and maybe it'll be a life finds a way situation and somebody gets hurt. That pitchers have been known to do that, but I'd hate for anyone else to be bumped in favor of Odorizzi from that rotation.
Oh yeah,
Scott just hates when I look good. That's all.
No,
he hates to see me shine.
Especially when it's advocating for Jake Odorizzi.
Only when it's Odorizzi, yes.
Waiver wire pitchers part 3. If you didn't really like the previous group, I think you're probably going to hate this one. Dean Kramer has 4 scoreless outings in his last 5 starts. He went 5 shutout with 7 strikeouts against the Angels. Madison Bumgarner had one of his best starts of the season, 7 innings of 2-run ball with 5 strikeouts against the Rockies. Zach Greinke now has 3 solid starts since returning from the IL. He went 5 shutout with 5 strikeouts against the Guardians. And then Cole Irvin, low-key, he's having a good season. Nothing really lines up with the underlying numbers, but he was good again against the Houston Astros of all teams. 6 innings, 2 runs, only 2 strikeouts, 0 walks there for Cole Irvin. Scott, right back to you. Cole Irvin, Greinke, Bumgarner, Dean Kramer. Anything with this group? Maybe more so in deeper leagues.
How rostered is Irvin? I'm surprised he's as available as he is.
Yeah, he's only 42% rostered.
Yeah, considering what the ERA and WHIP look like. I imagine the 3-6 record has something to do with that.
Yeah. Pitching for
Oakland, I would say, I don't see a lot to get excited about with Irvin either, but this is kind of, for most of last year, he was doing this too. So he did fade down the stretch last year. But there may be something there that just isn't jumping out to me that makes him serviceable. And so I would say both him and Greinke I have more interest in than the previous group, which is more a reflection on the previous group than those two. But still, I mean, in Greinke's case, I like that the velocity has been up by a mile per hour and a half. Someone gave me a hard time for saying that the other day, because it's up a mile per an hour and a half, or is it up 1.5 miles per hour?
Up a mile per hour and a half would be like
a strange metric no one would ever use.
Of a mile per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 1.5 miles per hour is how I would say
Yes.
it. But
Yes.
do you, Scott? Don't listen to me.
Greinke's throwing harder. And 3 of his 4 starts since coming back from the IL have been his 3 best starts of the season, I would say. And he's Zach Greinke. So, I don't want to write him off too soon, especially if he's showing signs of doing better things. So I would say Greinke's I'm not calling him must add or anything, but I would say of these last 2 groups of pitchers, he's the one I have the most hope for.
Yeah, I looked into like Madison Bumgarner to see like maybe like the 3.65 ERA. Maybe there's something I'm missing there. I haven't really paid any attention. No, there's not.
The velocity is up for Bumgarner. That's the only
but
thing I
he's
noticed,
still his xERA is like 4.88. His strikeout rate's way down. I don't see much reason to be optimistic about Madison Bumgarner.
When you see a 3.65 ERA accompanied by a 1.35 WHIP, one of those things is probably off. So probably going to be some regression coming for Madison Bumgarner. Not that you're necessarily going to drop these pitchers I'm going to mention for the ones that we just talked about, but maybe for Detmers or Alex Wood. Chris, what do you think? Are we entering drop territory with any of these 3 pitchers? Mackenzie Gore got rocked again on Sunday. He gave up 8 runs over 3 1/3 innings pitched. The ERA now up over 4. Martin Perez, your favorite, another regression start over his last 6 starts. He's got a 4.91 ERA. And Jameson Taillon has just come crashing back down to earth. Last 7 starts, 6.90 ERA. What do you think about dropping any of those names, Chris? Gore, Martin Perez, Taillon.
I think it's totally fine to drop Jameson Taillon, especially. Not in every league, certainly. Your 15-team leagues probably keep him, but like I think he's droppable in a 12-team league. I've never really had him inside of like my top 70, I don't think. So pretty pessimistic about him. Perez, I mean, my guess is he won't be worth starting moving forward. So like on the whole, so that's you can take that to mean he's droppable, but I'm not telling you to. Gore I want to hang on to, but man, yeah, it's rough. His fastball velocity the first 2 months of the season, April and May, was above 95 miles per hour on average. In June, it was 94.1. In July so far, it's down to 93.5. So that's concerning. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's an injury. It could just be that his mechanics are a little out of whack, and that's something that you wouldn't be surprised to see from someone who has at least 3 walks in 6 starts entering this most recent one, only had 2 strikeouts in the most recent one. So, yeah, I think
Gore spent all of last year trying to fix his mechanics, basically. So
he's got like a very, specific style of pitching that's very like Clayton Kershaw-esque in a lot of the ways that he pitches. And, Kershaw makes it work for him, but it's when you actually watch Clayton Kershaw pitch, he's got a pretty unique delivery. He's got a pretty unique way of the drive through his leg kick is very unique. And Gore has struggled with that in the past and seems to be struggling with it right now. So I want to hang on to him. The upside's high, but I can't fault you if you drop him. I can't say I'm 100% confident he's going to turn it around soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried Gore is going to get sent down. I mean, I say worried, but that might be the best thing for him. The Padres are still rocking in a 6-man rotation, and that's with Nick Martinez in the bullpen. They could always move Nick Martinez back to the rotation if they wanted to stick with the 6-man. So, remember Gore only got in the rotation in the first place because of an injury, I think to Clevenger or somebody else. And he did so well at first that he stuck around, but now he's not. Now he's doing like he's unstartable right now. And I think he's certainly in like a 12-team context. I think you could talk about sitting Gore. The one I'd be most hesitant to drop of the 3 is Martin Perez, because let me see, even as of now, I mean, he's like top 20 in scoring in points leagues, even with this rough stretch he's on. He's outscored Zach Wheeler. He's outscored Robbie Ray, Yu Darvish. And like, I go to the teams where I have Martin Perez and he's the highest scorer on my team for the season. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to drop him. I don't.
Missed your chance to sell him though.
Well, maybe so. If anybody was buying, I think I think there's a good chance I'll end up dropping him at some point, certainly if he continues down this path. But I will point out that, like, what was I going to say? His ERA during this rough stretch is more like 4.50 than like 6.50. You know, it's not what you've seen from Gore, where he's just like sinking you every start. It's just he hasn't been very good. So, you know, that gives me a little bit of hope too.
All right, let's move over to some waiver wire hitters from the weekend. John Birdie, I know we've talked about John Birdie a lot, but another interesting weekend where he had 7 hits, 2 more steals, leads baseball in stolen bases, 68% rostered. Chris, I know we were talking beforehand, and you're like, oh, hey, John Birdie's on first base. I bet you he steals a base. And
yeah, I told my wife, like, there's a 90% chance this guy's going to try to steal second, and he stole it on the next pitch. On the first pitch.
The only thing is, Chris, he's 68% rostered. I don't know if that number needs to be higher because I don't know that he is like a must roster player in a points league.
No, probably not. But I think he's viable. Like, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if you had to use him in a points league in a pinch. He's eligible at, 3 or 4 different positions, so that's helpful. But no, I definitely don't think in a points league he's a must roster player. I do think he's a must roster and must start player in basically any league where stolen bases matter, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He is actually 75% rostered on Yahoo, too. So yeah. I thought that
makes sense. They have a much higher proportion of their leagues that are roto or categories based than ours.
Yeah, for sure. Scott, do you like any of these corner infielders who did something of note from the weekend? Alec Boehm had a double dong on Friday. He's 45% rostered. Josh Rojas just kind of fits this bill, but you could play him anywhere, middle infield, outfield. He had 7 hits this weekend, including a sock and a shoe on Friday, his 5th homer, his 7th steal, 49% rostered. Gavin Sheets has first in outfield eligibility, back-to-back games with a home run. He's been playing consistently for the White Sox. He's 7% rostered. And Carlos Santana has 3 homers over the past 2 games for the Mariners, including a double dong on Sunday. He is 9% rostered. What do you think of this group, Scott? Boehm, Rojas, Gavin Sheets, and Carlos Santana.
Well, the most interesting, I think, is Rojas because he's so versatile and because he's contributing some speed in addition to everything else. I'm like, I don't think this is the start of a breakthrough or anything. I think he's a pretty middling hitter based on what we've seen from him so far in his career. But he's certainly hitting the ball hard right now during this stretch, like 93 mile per hour average exit velocity, I noticed. And, you know, I just like having those versatile players around, especially the deeper the league you're in or the more restricted transactions are. Obviously, it helps to have that guy you can slot in almost anywhere. Carlos Santana, I could see him becoming useful in points leagues again. I mean, it's been going on like a month now where he's been hot. And, you know, more walks and strikeouts this year. The plate discipline that's been excellent throughout his career and made him a top 10 first baseman in fantasy for, I would say a decade, but he actually started out a catcher. So he was like a top 2 catcher and then a top 10 first baseman forever, it seemed like, in points leagues because of that great plate discipline. That's still intact. So, you know, 9% rostered. I don't think there's a lot of urgency to add Carlos Santana right now, but I'm keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, I checked this since the start of June. He's batting over 300, something like a 450 OBP. So just especially in deeper points leagues or any type of OBP format, I think Santana is going to help you quite a bit in those leagues. And go ahead, Chris.
I'll say like Boehm has been disappointing again, but I don't know. He's still hitting the ball reasonably hard, like above average in most quality of contact metrics. He is hitting the ball in the air more than he did last season without really pulling it. Without hitting a ton of pop-ups. So it's not like he's, sacrificing a ton or losing a ton there. I do think there's a chance that he could start to hit better moving forward, but I also think there's a chance that he just like he's 62nd percentile in average exit velocity, 41st percentile in barrel rate, and I feel like that might sum up Alec Boehm. He hits the ball consistently 93 miles per hour. But not hard enough to really be an impact player. I think that's one concern, but I'm watching him to see because I think there is still room for him to improve.
All right. How about any of these deep league outfielders? Nick Senzel had 2 more multi-hit games this weekend, and over his last 17 games, he's batting .426 with 2 homers, 3 steals, and an OPS over 1,000. Aaron Hicks went 2 for 3 with 2 steals on Friday. He's been playing pretty consistently recently for the Yankees. And Harold Ramirez had 6 hits this weekend. He's now batting .324 overall. Just not much else. 4 homers, 3 steals on the season. He's 25% rostered. Chris, how would you rank these in deeper leagues? Senzel, Hicks, and Harold Ramirez.
You know, I might go Harold Ramirez just because I think he's the best pure hitter of this bunch. I'm not sure what else he's going to do, but he does kind of remind me of Garrett Cooper in that, like, really solid, strong quality of contact metrics. Really doesn't strike out very much. He's 98th percentile expected batting average. He doesn't hit the ball in the air all that often. He doesn't run all that often, so there's limited utility, but I think he could be legitimately helpful as in a batting average context. So yeah, I think Harold Ramirez is pretty good.
Scott, can I get you to say anything good about Nick Senzel, or we're not buying this yet?
I was looking to see what the data looked like during this hot stretch, and it's, you know, average exit velocity is still less than desirable.
Yeah.
And no, I think I'm with Chris that Harold Ramirez is the one I'm most interested in, which isn't saying a ton. I mean, I don't like hollow batting average guys, but as Chris pointed out, 98th percentile expected batting average. It does seem like what he's doing with the batting average is legit.
He's hitting 283 in his career, which I was kind of surprised to see.
I did add Harold Ramirez to the 10 sleeper hitters for this week. I had to remove Josh Naylor because he's still dealing with that back issue that we talked about on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So Ramirez was the replacement.
All right. Before we hit the break, reminder that you could join our Fantasy Baseball Today Facebook group. That's facebook.com/groups/Fantasy Baseball Today. Fun community, asking any type of questions that you have, waiver wire, trade questions, dynasty, keeper. So hop in there, put up a post, and go interact with other FBT listeners and watchers. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back right after this. The news and notes. Unfortunately, the biggest news of the weekend. Yordan Alvarez went to the IL with right hand inflammation, and there's no timetable yet. Hopefully he can be back shortly after the All-Star break, or maybe even right after the All-Star break. But if we get a timeline, we will obviously let you know. I think this goes without saying. If you need an outfield replacement, we've talked about Alex Kirilloff a ton recently. I think he's up to 72% rostered. So in shallower leagues, I think that makes sense. But Scott, some of the most added outfielders right now rostered in less than 60% of leagues. Eddie Rosario, Ramon Laureano, Garrett Cooper. Do you have one or two there that you like most?
Yeah, Garrett Cooper is probably my favorite, and I have him in the sleeper hitters for this week. Eddie Rosario has been playing a lot, but Adam Duvall was banged up when Rosario first came back, and more recently Duvall's been away on paternity leave, so that's helped keep Rosario in the lineup. I think playing time could be tricky between the two of them, and for that reason, I actually I'm not sure the bid went through, but I was willing to drop Duvall even in a 15-team league just because of that messy playing time situation. I would say if you don't need an outfielder specifically, somebody who's even more available than Kirilloff, and we talked about him a lot, of course, but it's worth mentioning, is Vinny Pasquantino, who's my favorite sleeper hitter for this week and beyond.
Yes, as we mentioned late last week, still hitting the ball extremely hard. So hopefully results coming this week. Scott, can we dub this week the Vinny Pasquantino breakout? Is that fine?
Coming out party, Frank. That's what we call it. The coming out party.
Sweet. Jacob deGrom will make another rehab start either Wednesday or Thursday at AAA. He threw 36 pitches in his most recent rehab start, and sounds like he could be ready to go coming out of the All-Star break. So that would be awesome. Get him and Scherzer in that rotation healthy together for the first time this season. Fernando Tatis will talk with the doctor who performed surgery on him this week, and he could gain clearance to start taking batting practice without restrictions. Chris Sale will indeed return Tuesday and start against the Rays, which means he should have 2 starts, one against Tampa Bay and one against the Yankees. Chris, I assume that we're just throwing Chris Sale back in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I think he threw like 72 pitches in his most recent start. I'm not sure if that was the one that he left because of control issues. So I don't know if like he could have thrown more and they just didn't want him to throw 40 pitches in an inning or whatever. But yeah, I think he probably gets to 80 plus pitches, and that should be enough for Chris Sale to get you, 6+ strikeouts. So yeah,
Wow.
I think you keep him out there.
Sorry, I was thinking out loud there. I just checked and I did win Nolan Jones in one of my 15 teamers with only a $13 bid. So that's a 1.3% bid.
Wow.
That I won him with. I dropped Ranger Suarez for him. How you like that? It's one of those annoying leagues without IL spots. It's just like not everybody on the IL can take up a bench spot. I had to let Suarez go.
Yeah, Nolan Jones in my NFBC main event league, 15 team. He went for $33 there, and I was actually the runner-up with $12, but I have next to no money left. I think 65 out of $1,000 left, so I really need to.
Oh, I emptied the tank with one of my bids this weekend. It hasn't. It's one of those that goes through at 2 a.m, so we'll see. But I may be fabulous for the rest of the year. Not fabulous, fabulous. And one of my. One where $0 bids is allowed, which is an important distinction. It's not that's anyone ever again.
Yeah, that's obviously much different. You could be more aggressive with $0 bids, but in these NFBC leagues, there are no $0 bids, so it's a little bit harder. You gotta play it tight at this time of year. George Kirby was optioned back to AAA on Saturday, but I believe the Mariners are just trying to manage his workload, much like the Pirates did with Roansy Contreras. So I would expect Kirby to be back in the rotation after the All-Star break. We had a trade this weekend. Christian Betancourt was traded to the Tampa Bay Rays for Cal Stevenson and Christian Fernandez. Betancourt is 15% rostered if you need a second catcher in a 2-catcher league. He's been okay this year, 248 batting average, 4 homers.
Has some impressive StatCast stats. Yeah. Hits the ball hard.
So you know what that means, Chris. Of course, Tampa Bay is going to turn him into a superstar and yada,
Just
yada,
like
yada.
Well, look, catcher was so bad. I Betancourt was looking like a 2-catcher league guy, even with the A's. Man. I'm kind of annoyed that now he's going to cut into Francisco Mejia's time. Not that Mejia's been so great, but he's been a viable catcher in a 2-catcher league. There was another trade too, Frank. This wasn't the only trade.
Oh, that's right. Your Atlanta Braves acquired Robinson Cano, right?
And they did, yeah. And they're going to put him on the major league roster. He was playing in the minors for the Padres. Don't know what it means for Orlando Arcia, if anybody was still holding out hope for him. But yeah,
was
it was
Cano
a trade.
even hitting in the minors?
He was doing okay.
He hasn't done anything.
Not what you'd want a major league caliber bat to do necessarily, but okay.
Did you guys see when I think he was playing for the Chihuahuas in the minors? They had like a SpongeBob SquarePants jersey that he had to wear one night. It was completely ridiculous. But
yeah, he's just it seems beneath him. He's been reduced to this and probably won't go in the Hall of Fame because he kept getting busted.
Yeah, sad. PEDs with Cano. One of my favorite Yankees growing up. So unfortunate. Anyway, Tyler Stevenson was reinstated from the IL on Saturday and promptly picked up 5 hits, including a homer over his last 2 games. Mitch Garver will undergo season-ending surgery to repair his injured flexor tendon on Monday. Joe Barlow has been removed from the Rangers' closer role, and lefty Brett Martin picked up saves on both Friday and Saturday. He's 4% rostered. Chris, were you looking to maybe add Brett Martin in those deeper category leagues if you need saves?
Yeah, I mean, any league where you're chasing saves, I think it's worth looking at because we got the first 2. So
not only that, but I think when this was announced, Joe Barlow being removed, not for performance reasons, by the way. Apparently, they just want to take some stress off him or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if he was like that Charlie Day meme in front of the, in front of the collage where he's like, I don't know how stressed Joe Barlow was around the clubhouse that they felt the need to do this. But it seemed like the leading candidate was Dennis Santana, who had been their 8th inning guy, a right-hander. But Santana set up for Martin both of these games over the weekend. And I know at least on Friday, Martin faced the heart of the lineup in the 9th. So it wasn't like a leverage situation. So, I mean, I don't know that Martin's that good. He has a high ground ball rate. ERA is fine. Ks are low.
I'm pretty sure he's not that good.
Yeah.
But
but he's
you
getting
know.
saves. He seems
Yeah,
like
like,
the
that's
clear
it, is
front
that
runner right now. Yeah.
If you're getting saves, you matter. I
Yes.
think that's kind of where he falls in.
Indeed. Andrew Heaney responded well to a bullpen session and is nearing a rehab assignment. He's been on the IL with a shoulder injury. Josh Naylor returned from his back injury on Saturday, and then he was scratched again on Sunday, which Scott mentioned. So unfortunately, you might not want to roll Josh Naylor out there this week. Brendan Donovan has missed 2 straight with an illness. Vidal Brujan was optioned back to AAA. He was batting just 167 with the Rays. Some prospect news. One of the top prospects in the game, Corbin Carroll, was promoted to AAA. He was batting .313 with 16 homers and 20 steals in 58 games at AA. Scott, do you think there's a chance we could see Corbin Carroll in the majors this season?
Well, they had said just a couple weeks ago that he was not going to skip AAA. So that gave me some doubt whether or not we'd see. I mean, there was always reason for doubt. He's young. He doesn't have a ton of minor league experience, but I was beginning to wonder if I should put him in my 5 on the verge in the prospects report. Now that he's at AAA, he officially hasn't skipped AAA. So it could happen. I mean, I think if I was making, well, and I guess I will next week, I'll do a midseason top prospects rankings, and I expect Corbin Carroll will be number 1. Obviously, that's not, that those are prospect rankings, so they're not thinking about 2022 necessarily, but that's the caliber of prospect Corbin Carroll is, and so it wouldn't surprise me if he's so good at AAA that the Diamondbacks even consider it even at age 21.
Yeah, no, he's a freak athlete, power, speed, hit tool, lots to like with Corbin Carroll. He's 26% rostered over on CBS. And we had another prospect report come out. An MRI on Grayson Rodriguez's lat came back clean. He was shut down in early June and probably won't pitch again this season. I mean, maybe later on, but I don't think it will be for the Orioles, even if he does return. These players went to the IL this weekend. Wander Franco with a hamate injury in his right wrist, which might require surgery. So it's a huge blow. He could be out, the next 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. Jonathan Aranda was recalled by the Tampa Bay Rays, and just a name to watch because he was having a pretty good season in the minors. James McCann with a left oblique strain. Jeffrey Springs with tightness in his lower right leg. That's retroactive to July 7th. Jurickson Profar went to the 7-day concussion IL. Really scary collision on Thursday night for him. Ken Giles with right shoulder tightness, and Michael Waka with right shoulder inflammation.
It's worth mentioning that when McCann was placed on the IL, the Mets did not call up Francisco Alvarez, who is their top prospect and is probably in the conversation for top prospect in baseball at this point, right, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, he's
really good catcher, hitter.
We don't like catcher prospects in fantasy so much, but yeah.
But huge power, and he got called up to AAA recently, but they opted to not call him up, and reports say that he wasn't a real consideration. But I mean, we'll see what playing Tomas Nido does to their faith in Francisco Alvarez.
He's 20 years old and has moved very quickly. So I would be surprised if we saw him this year. But the idea has occurred to me that,
I mean, he's right around the corner.
Right. Well, once you get to AAA, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, literally right around the corner. He plays in Brooklyn.
Yeah, true.
No, he doesn't.
Doesn't he? Isn't
that I went to a Brooklyn Cyclones game on Saturday. It's actually their high A affiliate. So
I don't know anything.
I was sad because
I just said true because I took your word for it. So I'm not any better off than that extent.
Away with it.
I could have just let that sneak on by. But there was I missed out. Like last year, the Brooklyn Cyclones had Francisco Alvarez. They had Brett Beatty. Obviously 2 pretty big prospects.
Syracuse is the Mets AAA affiliate.
I mean, that's a hop, a skip, and a jump.
Yeah, not necessarily around the corner, but whatever. We could take a train there.
As the crow flies.
Starters sit these banged up players. Rafi Devers missed the last 2 games with lower back pain. What do you guys think? Do you trust Devers for this week?
I'd start him.
Yeah,
me too.
Whit Merrifield left Sunday's game with right toe discomfort. X-rays were negative, but they're awaiting MRI results. Anything on Whit?
This sounds worse. So I would probably try to avoid it, especially because he's been better, but still pretty mediocre.
They have the one early game tomorrow too, or Monday, I should say, because they have a doubleheader. So that's
That's rough.
It's an 8-game week for the Royals, but yeah, that's a tricky one with Merrifield.
CJ Cron has missed 2 straight with a wrist injury. They got 7 home games this week, so I haven't seen any update on this. Would you take the shot on CJ Cron?
I know he's not supposed to go on the IL. They don't think he's going to go on the IL, so I would lean yes on CJ Cron.
Yeah. All right. Starling Marte was out Sunday with a left groin injury and is going for an MRI. I think he's not supposed to land on the IL. What do you guys think about Starling Marte?
I saw that he still may. So that's concerning. I would try to avoid him.
All right, last one. Joey Votto has missed 7 straight with back tightness, and I mean,
I just sat him.
Yeah, I think you could argue that he's droppable at this point, but
well, I sat him in the 24-team Dynasty League, so not droppable.
Yeah, 12-teamer, you could drop him potentially. I haven't totally lost hope for him this year, but it's you got to drop somebody sometimes.
Fair enough. All right, buy or sell these pitchers and their recent success. Luis Castillo has now allowed 2 earned runs total over his last 3 starts. And this weekend, he went 7 innings of 1-run ball with 8 strikeouts, 14 swinging strikes, 9 on the fastball. And he's been throwing this 4-seam fastball more. And this is something that, we mentioned recently was kind of like in the games where he was great were the ones where he was throwing his 4-seam fastball more. So I wonder if that's kind of unlocking Luis Castillo once again. Scott, what do you think? Buy or sell this recent run for Luis Castillo?
Sure, I'll buy it. I am encouraged by the 4-seamer use and the fact that it's, become his second best swing and miss pitch.
Best? I mean, by far this season. The changeup hasn't even actually been that good of a swing and miss pitch for him.
Right. So I don't know. Hopefully he can regain that changeup and then he'll really be in business. Yeah. He is an all-star. Luis Castillo was named to the all-star team as the Reds.
Well, someone had to be.
He's pitching like it though.
It was either him or Kyle Farmer.
I was gonna say Brandon Drury, man. Show my guy some respect.
Yeah, been Drury.
That was one of the more notable hitter snubs. I thought there were a lot of pitcher snubs.
Oh yeah,
especially in the NL.
I mean, it's weird. This is like a different version of Castillo than we've ever seen, but I'm buying it. Yeah, I think he's looked really good.
Yep. Chris, what do you think about Blake Snell? That's now 2 straight double-digit strikeout outings in a row, and he went up against the Giants this weekend. 6 innings, 1 run, 11 strikeouts. He had 21 swinging strikes on 108 pitches. Trying to see what he's doing differently. The curveball usage is up over these last 2 starts.
It's a harder curveball too.
Yeah, and his curveball and slider, they each have a swinging strike rate over 21%. I mean, that is just absolutely massive. I know the overall numbers, 4.66 ERA, is obviously very bad for Snell, but there's some stuff under the hood. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, the fastball was bad last year, too. It wasn't as bad as it has been this season. The curveball is playing better this season. I'm not sure exactly what, he's throwing it harder, like Scott said. Maybe that's
the last 3 starts especially. He's thrown it harder, and 2 of them have been great. The first one wasn't, but last 2 have been.
And so I'm a little skeptical, but I generally think like Blake Snell throwing more sliders and curveballs is probably a good thing. So I think he's going to continue to be frustrating, but he's remained in like my top 48 starting pitchers.
All right. Patrick Sandoval posted a season high 10 strikeouts at the Baltimore Orioles. He went 6 1/3, 1 run, 10 strikeouts. Again, 20 swinging strikes there. His last 2 starts, he's moved into less 4-seam fastballs, more sinkers and changeups, and the ERA is down to 2.95. Scott, are you buying what Patrick Sandoval has been doing recently?
Yeah, I'm buying it. He's, emphasizing that changeup. He's not throwing the fastball as much, and specifically the swinging strike rate. In no small measure because of those 2 changes he's made. I'm sure over his past 6 starts, it's 16% swinging strike rate. It's basically what it was last year. Again, remember early on, prior to that 6-start stretch, it was like an 11% swinging strike rate, which is really not what we were expecting from Sandoval. We thought he'd be a big bat misser, and he started to perform like that again. So I'm definitely encouraged by the direction he's headed.
All right. Chris, if you're trying to talk, you are muted.
I was. His 4-seam fastball is an absolute disaster. It wasn't good last season, but it's been even worse so far this year. It has the worst whiff rate of any four-seam fastball in baseball,
Wow.
which is bad. 484 expected WOBA allowed on the fastball, also very bad. His sinker's not a great pitch, but I think given what we've seen this season especially, this is probably a good change for him. Mostly because I think it keeps him from pitching up in the zone, which is what he tries to do with his four-seam fastball, which is what you generally want to do with a four-seam fastball, but he can't do that. So I think the switch to the sinker and focusing more on the changeup, and the slider's also got a really good swing and miss rate. So, and even the curveball. So I think this is a good thing, and I'm feeling more optimistic about Patrick Sandoval. I was kind of starting to go, he was starting to like creep outside of my top 40. So I think I feel better about him now.
Chris, talk to me about Taijuan Walker, because obviously you went to that game, you get to watch Sandy. On the other side, Taijuan Walker has quietly been very, very good. His last 6 starts, he's got a 1.85 ERA, over a strikeout per inning. He's doing some things a little bit differently. He's 54% ground ball rate during this stretch. He's up to 90% rostered, so I don't think you can add him. But what do you think? Are you buying this recent stretch for Taijuan Walker?
It's so hard for me to buy when we saw, last season he made did he pitch in the All-Star game? He made the All-Star game last year, I'm pretty sure. He was really good in the first half and then fell apart. So it's hard for me to buy in, and the peripherals don't necessarily support what he's doing. But, I think he's useful enough. I don't want to overstate the case for Taijuan Walker, but I think he's a fine pitcher to have around. Probably someone I would be looking to trade right now, but if I can't get anything of value for him, I'm perfectly content to ride it out while he's, emphasizing, like you said, the slider and splitter more. Those are going to be his best pitches. So I think that's a good thing for him, but he's not someone I get excited about. He's not someone I want to run away screaming from. He's, he's in that great blob towards the back half.
Fair enough. All right, let's hit some leftovers, rapid fires. Still a lot of stuff to talk about. Some pitchers duels from this weekend. We had Zach Wheeler go up against Adam Wainwright. Wheeler went 7 shutout with 5 strikeouts. On the other side, Wainwright throws a complete game, gives up 2 runs, only 3 strikeouts. Scott, anything you'd like to add on Zach Wheeler and Adam Wainwright?
Not really. Zach Wheeler was one of the more notable all-star snubs, one of those many pitchers I referred to. The worst of the pitchers was probably Carlos Rodon to be snubbed. I mean, the worst snubbing. But Wheeler was a bad one too, I thought.
All right, let's talk about Carlos Rodon, because him and Yu Darvish, they put on a show in San Diego. Carlos Rodon, a complete game here, 1 run allowed, 12 strikeouts, including 27 swinging strikes. ERA is down to 2.70. And then Yu Darvish went 7 innings of 1-run balls, 6 strikeouts on the other side, 3.38 ERA. He's got a 0.99 whip, which is tied for 9th among qualified starting pitchers, which honestly surprised me. I did not know Yu Darvish was pitching that well. Chris, what do you think about these two? Would you look to sell high on Carlos Rodon after an amazing start like this when, there's some history there with the shoulder and velocity fluctuations? What do you think?
I would be more willing to sell high on Yu Darvish than Carlos Rodon, because I think Carlos Rodon's legitimately great. And the velocity was back up in this one, 96.7 miles per hour, 20 swings and misses with his fastball. He's one of the few pitchers in baseball who can throw 70% fastballs and get those kind of whiffs. So, no, the injury risk is really all I'm concerned with Carlos Rodon. He remains not quite top. I think he's top 10 now, top 8 starting pitcher for me. So I'm still quite high on him, and I still expect very good things for him moving forward.
All right, starter sit these pitchers in, let's just say, standard 12-team league. Nestor Cortez, his last 6 starts, he's got a 5.34 ERA. He's going up against the Reds this week. Scott, what do you think?
He's an all-star.
That's a fact.
Yeah, I mean, he's been trended the wrong way here. Not surprisingly, he wasn't going to maintain what was his ERA in the early going? It was like below 2, right, for the first couple months.
Yeah.
I think he's probably still a top 40 pitcher rest of season, but not like a Cy Young caliber pitcher like he was looking early on. And obviously it helps that he's on the winningest team in baseball. So you know he's always going to have a lot of support, and that makes a big difference.
Okay. Would you start him in this one against the Reds?
Yeah, with that matchup, I wouldn't be afraid to start Cortez. I think his last start was pretty good, actually, right? It's been bumpy overall of late, but the previous start was pretty good.
Tarek Skubal got back on track with his first quality start since June 7th. He gave up 2 runs over 6 innings with 7 strikeouts against the White Sox. Chris, would you start him at the Royals this week?
Yeah, I think that's fine. He's still got hit kind of hard in this one, especially with the fastball, but overall better. You know, avoiding walks is the kind of the skeleton key for him.
Lucas Giolito, another rough start this weekend. 6 2/3, 5 runs, 8 strikeouts against the Tigers, and he is at the Guardians this week. Scott, what do we do there? Take Giolito out?
I mean, that's a pretty good matchup, but it doesn't get better than the Tigers. And I remember just last week we were talking Lucas Giolito or Spencer Strider rest of the season, and I think I came around to Strider. But when I look at Giolito's, sometimes I feel like we get caught in the granular and miss the big picture. I mean, Giolito has a 5.05 ERA and 144 WHIP this season.
That's very bad.
Yeah,
it's not good.
I mean, I don't think that's where his numbers are going to finish. I think he'll probably shave a run off that ERA. But after this start, I'd be a little scared of starting him next week.
All right. Jose Urquidy has now turned in 5 straight quality starts, and he went 8 innings, 3 runs, 2 strikeouts at the A's this weekend, and he's going up against the A's again this week. So, Chris, I assume we should start Jose Urquidy.
Must start against the A's. I don't know. I don't think he's a must start against everyone, and I think there's going to be some regression, but yeah, must start against the A's.
Last one here, Hunter Green turned in his first quality start since June 6th. He went 6 innings of 1-run ball, 9 strikeouts against Tampa Bay, including 22 swinging strikes. The ERA is still 5.70, but I mean, he has pretty big strikeout upside each and every time he goes out there. Scott, what do you think at the Cardinals this week for Hunter Green?
I mean, he was almost my oh my goodness gracious player because he's still only 74% rostered now, 5.70 ERA. You can kind of understand that, but I think this start was another indication that he's very close to taking it off. He averaged more than 100 miles per hour on his fastball. In this one, it was the second most 100-plus mile per hour pitches for any pitcher ever in a game.
He has.
I think he's also the leader.
Yes,
yeah,
that was his second start, I believe.
But I read in the Cincinnati Enquirer that he's taken to strength training in between starts in an effort to keep that velocity high from start to start, and he's also kind of altered his slider, made it into 2 pitches, one that's more like a cutter and one that's more of a traditional sweeping slider. And I think between those 2 changes, the fastball was good enough that he got double-digit swinging strikes on it, and it's not normally a good swing and miss pitch as hard as he throws it. So if he can continue with those 2 changes, I think there's a chance that Hunter Green takes off in the second half. So I'd be looking to pick him up in any of those leagues where he's still available.
Scott, would you drop Mackenzie Gore for him?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah,
fair enough.
Fine.
SP Studs Part 1. Shane McClanahan makes it 12 straight starts, allowing 2 earned runs or fewer. He goes 6 1-run innings of 8 strikeout ball at the Cincinnati Reds. It appears Charlie Morton just dislikes pitching in the beginning of the season because it looks fine. 7 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts against the Washington Nationals. And over his last 5 starts, he's got a 1.60 ERA. Framber Valdez makes it 14 straight quality starts. This one at the Oakland A's, 8 innings, 3 runs, 3 strikeouts in that start. And Clayton Kershaw makes his second double-digit strikeout effort of the season. This one was against the Cubs. He goes 7 2/3, 2 runs, 10 strikeouts to 0 walks. Chris, anything you'd like to add on Kershaw, Valdez, Morton, and Shane O'Mac?
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Those are 4 very good pitchers, and I think Charlie Morton is back to being a very good pitcher. He's I think he's back inside my top 30, and yeah, he's 25 for me, and probably just going to go ahead and move him ahead of Lucas Giolito now, and probably going to move him ahead of Frankie Montas, given the questions about his health. So yeah, top 24 starting pitcher, Charlie Morton.
Hey, 3 of these 4 are all-stars.
Just keep up with this shtick, Scott. I
Yeah,
like it
well,
quite a bit.
just, not everybody. I'm just trying to inform everybody who the All-Stars are.
Starting pitcher studs part 2. Alek Manoah makes it 14 quality starts this season, tied for second most in Major League Baseball. He was at the Mariners. He gave up 2 runs over 7 1/3 innings of with 7 strikeouts there. And Robbie
All-Star.
Ray, yes, Robbie Ray has really turned it around himself. He's allowed 4 earned runs total over his last 6 starts. He goes 6, 1 run, 6 strikeouts there against his former team, the Blue Jays. And his velocity was way up in this one, too. 1.7 miles per hour on the sinker, 1.5 miles per hour on the slider. Scotty, Manoah, Robbie Ray, what do you got?
Oh, only one's an All-Star. But if Robbie Ray had been pitching like this from the beginning of the year, he would be too, because his last 6 starts, Robbie Ray has a .91 ERA, 0.73 whip, 10.4 K per 9. And it seems like the sinker has unlocked everything for him. A lot of times, like with Luis Castillo, we prefer them to go away from the sinker, but it seems like Robbie Ray just is able to locate his a lot better than his 4-seamer. And even though it's cost him something strikeout wise, he's still getting plenty. So
one thing I do want to see is if the velocity maintains over the next couple of starts and it's back to being where it was last season, if he goes back to the 4-seam fastball, because I think that could explain why the sinker's the better pitch now. But, I think the ultimate upside for Robbie Ray is higher if he has that fastball working like he did last year. And just want to, how weird is it that Alek Manoah has just turned into, a supersized version of Kyle Hendricks? And I mean that in, the best way possible. He's not this dominating strikeout pitcher, but he's got an incredible control. He's got, I think, if not the lowest, one of the lowest expected WOBA on contact by any starting pitcher this season, and it's actually right in line with what it was last year. He's awesome in a completely unexpected way, I feel like.
I am hesitant to say that this is the best version of Robbie Ray that we have seen, because obviously he was amazing last year, but this has the potential. This has the potential to be the best version of Robbie Ray, because the ground ball rate over this last 6-start stretch, 51%. That's not anything we've ever seen from Robbie Ray. So
I mean, last year even the issue is always going to be home runs for him the way he pitched. So
if
that's
he's getting whiffs and better control, and he's getting ground balls now too, and he keeps this velocity up, I mean, there's a real chance that Robbie Ray is just going to be amazing.
Robbie Ray wasn't an All-Star last year either.
I didn't think
Fake news.
I was just saying it.
Some hitting leftovers from the weekend. Mike Trout with a sock and a shoe on Friday, his 24th home run and his first steal of the season. Josh Donaldson is heating up, and he had a sock and a shoe on Friday, his 9th home run, his 2nd stolen base. I'm here to tell you that Juan Soto is still good at baseball. His last 5 games, he's got 9 hits, including 2 home runs.
Who could
All-Star.
Michael Harris had another massive game on Friday. He went 4 for 4 with his 7th home run. He added 4 RBI and 3 runs scored. Corey Seager hit a home run each game this weekend. He has 4 home runs in his last 5 games and 19 total. That is a 35 homer pace over 150 games. His previous career high.
His issue is all BABIP. He's got his BABIP's 100 points lower than his career. Everything else for Corey Seager looks awesome.
And I saw he's batting around 230. And his XBA is close to 300. So
it's over 300 when I looked at it today.
Wow. Yeah.
So he's big second half coming for Corey Seager.
Superstar.
The floodgates might be open here for Chris Bryant, who had a double dong on Friday and then added another homer on Saturday. I know he was dealing with something that happened on Sunday.
Yeah, for me, it's just I just hope he can stay healthy, because I still believe he's going to be really, really good at Coors Field as long as he's healthy.
Yes. Let's see if I can pull this up quickly. Chris Bryant of the Colorado Rockies is expected to land on the paternity list on Monday. So that is not great.
Yeah, not great.
Especially in a week where they have 7 home games. Oh, my jeez. I don't even have any shares of Chris Bryant, but that is just so frustrating, because
I think you still start him, though. You'd have, unless you've got a really good option. I still think 5 games at Coors Field from Chris Bryant. You should feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
It's tougher in a points league,
right.
but
All right, fair enough. Get him back in there. Austin Riley, 6 more hits this weekend, including 2 home runs. He's now up to 23 total. And
not an all-star. I think that's the biggest snub of all. Austin Riley.
Kyle Schwarber, the beefcake, just keeps
all-star.
2 for 5 with his 28th home run of the season. Some bullpen updates. We are already very late into the podcast. Anyway, the call to the bullpen for the Marlins, not the Twins. Tanner Scott pitched in all 3 games this weekend. He picked up 2 saves and a loss. He's been a little shaky recently. He's still 54% rostered. For the Phillies, Sir Anthony Dominguez pitched in the 8th inning with a 2-run lead on Friday. And then Brad Hand picked up his 4th save in that game. And then on Saturday, Dominguez and Hand obviously both pitched on Friday. Corey Knebel picked up his 12th save of the
that's so
season.
annoying.
Yeah, it's gotten real messy there.
3 straight saves by a different person in Philadelphia now.
I think Knebel only got that save Saturday because Dominguez and Hand had both worked 2 days in a row. But even if that's the case, Hand and Dominguez are clearly sharing the role, which makes it hard.
Yep. For the Rockies on Friday, Alex Colomé picked up his 4th save. Daniel Bard pitched on both Wednesday and Thursday, and then Bard was back at it on Sunday. He picked up his 18th save of the season. For the Cardinals on Saturday, Ryan Helsley entered in a tie game in the 8th inning. He faced 9-1-2 in the I don't know who we're facing. Is it the Phillies? I don't know. Anyway, Giovanni Gallegos pitched in the 9th inning. He gave up a run and he took the loss in that game. I think it just Ryan Helsley has further entrenched himself as the closer, I think. For the Orioles on Saturday, Jorge Lopez struck out 2 for his 6th save. Shout out to the Orioles, by the way. They are playing great baseball. I'd love to see it. For the
I think Helsley's an all-star too.
How about the Angels having like Ohtani and Trout both go 3 for 5 with a home run in a game? I think that was the game that Patrick Sandoval pitched really well in, and they managed to lose that one. We spent all this time talking about how good Reid Detmers was. They lost that one as well. Man,
it's crazy.
I don't know.
It's basically since they're like them and the Orioles have basically swapped like how hot they've been this season, right? So it's been very weird.
I don't understand the Angels.
I love the tweets where people are like, Ohtani, breaks some kind of record every single time he plays baseball, but the Angels lost 11-3 or something like that. Yeah. So it's very weird. For the Mariners on Saturday, Diego Castillo picked up his 5th save after Paul Sewald threw 30 pitches on Friday. And then on Sunday, Sewald was back at it. He picked up his 10th save.
Ken Giles went on the IL too, so that's one less
shoulder
obstacle for Sewald. But I think Sewald's just the guy.
For the Twins on Sunday, Tyler Duffy allowed a hit but picked up his 2nd save, and they are searching right now because Duran they've used at different points of the game, different high leverage situations. They seem hesitant to make him the closer, and Emilio Pagan has been terrible. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're probably a candidate to go out and trade for a reliever around this trade deadline season. For the Dodgers on Sunday, Bruce Gratterall fired 2 scoreless innings for his 3rd save of the season, and Craig Kimbrell had pitched 3 of the previous 4 days.
To stream, Frank, the tweet you're referencing is from @Matomic. Every time I see an Angels highlight, it's like Mike Trout hit 3 home runs and raised his average to 528, while Shohei Ohtani did something that hasn't been done since Tungsten Arm O'Doyle of the 1921 Akron Groomsmen, as the Tigers defeated the Angels 8-3.
Yeah, that's about as accurate as possibly be.
That pretty much sums it up.
When it comes to the Angels. To stream or not to stream for Monday, Alex Cobb versus the Diamondbacks, Michael Pineda at the Royals, Brad Keller versus the Tigers, Mitch Keller versus the Marlins, Trevor Rogers versus the Pirates, Brian Bayo at the Rays, Spencer Howard versus the A's, Alex Faedo at the Royals, Daniel Lynch versus the Tigers.
I think it's Alex Cobb.
I'm going to keep riding that Alex Cobb bike, and it's going to keep leaving me with a scraped knee. I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I think Mitch Keller is fine. I think Trevor Rogers is okay. So.
Oh, gosh. That is fortune.
I have more faith in Trevor Rogers than you guys do still. I still think he can figure it out.
Has he had a fantasy-worthy start all year? A single one?
He has had 1 quality start in 16 tries this season.
He's definitely had fantasy-worthy starts. Scott, come on. Maybe
Not
only
many.
the one.
Not many at all.
Not many.
On Tuesday, Daniel Castano.
5 1/3 inning, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts.
Okay,
May
that's
14th,
that's
he was
another.
dominant.
Oh,
That's another. He
Just
actually had 2 decent ones in April.
For Tuesday, we've got Daniel Castano versus the Pirates, Chris Flexen at the Nationals, David Peterson at the Braves, Josh Winder versus the Brewers, Mitch White at the Cardinals, Adrian Sampson versus the Orioles, Jordan Lyles at the Cubs, Glenn Otto versus the A's, James Caprillion at the Rangers, and Bo Brisky at the Royals.
I think Chris Flexen against the Nationals is okay. I wouldn't mind David Peterson, even though it's against the Braves. They are, I believe, second in strikeouts, and that's what he's been doing a lot of recently. But obviously, there's danger to that too.
I think that's fair.
I think we're getting to the time of year where I have to actually write out the teams, because every time I see the abbreviations, I'm starting to think of football team names, and it's it's kind of messing with my brain.
I'm still not used to Commanders, so I'm never gonna get that one.
Yeah, I had to read Washington like 3 different times in my mind, and I'm like, what team is this? Is this the football team? Is this the Nationals? Anyway, we've gone very long, but that's the weekend recap for you. For Scott and Chris, I am Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching Fantasy Baseball today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.